People are saying that sketches are out.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the VikkiVerse for I Kinda Believe. Tonight, we have my co-host, Mecha Stankus.
That's right. The Stank Man's in the house.
We have Mr. Pickles.
Evening.
And, of course, Zombie.
Hello.
Hello.
So, Mecha's going to start us off tonight, I think.
Yeah, well, how's everyone doing? We got some early arrivals in the chat. You may have noticed Lorenzo hasn't been on a show or two. He's been abducted. And currently our field agents are trying to find him. But last we saw, he was aboard the mothership. They were taking him home, and hopefully we'll get him back someday. But for now, he's gone missing, and just leave a candle out for him if you would. But we got another green fellow replacing him for the time being. How are you today, Pickles?
I'm good. I even made an avatar for this occasion.
It has a wonderful tinfoil hat, which we all wear on this show, except for Zombie, because he's actually made up of tinfoil, as you can see by the presence on the screen right there.
Oscar says we're all echoing.
We're all echoing. I wonder who that could be. No, she had multiple tabs open.
Yeah, that was just Oscar.
Oh,
Oscar, don't scare us like that. Technical difficulties are bad.
Hopefully you're abducted next for messing up our show. Yes, our field agents are on the case. And I also have a tinfoil hat. It was very expensive, and it's not really on the market for everyone else yet. And you could probably play Ratchet and Clank on it. But regardless, I heard Lorenzo was in the autonomous zone gardening. That's why they're doing so good over there. Anyway, so if you guys have been following the account, the I Kinda Believe account, give me just one moment.
Again. He just disappears again.
Whoa, I'm back. I'm sorry, guys. If you watched the show last week, we set up some stuff. Tonight, we're going to be covering some recent UFO activity I've found. I got a couple interesting videos on that. And I'm also going to go into the Denver airport conspiracy, which I found quite a few good things on. And it's a very special place to me. It's a very haunted place to me. It's where I met my ex-wife. So I've got a personal connection to it. So, yeah, we're going to be looking at that. And, well, I guess we could just start with that. Are you sharing my screen, Vicky?
Yes, indeed.
All righty. Let's see here. Let me find the right one. Nope. Nope. Give me just a second. We got a script for the show, actually.
Yeah, and Mecha decided to go off script, so now he's a little messed up.
That's right. Let me see.
But that's okay.
All right. So this is the most recent UFO video I found recently, and this was March 20th this year. And I thought we'd just check out the video, see what we thought about it. Go ahead and start. Yes. Yeah, so that was the most recent video I found, UFOs and Aliens Twitter. It's not the most compelling UFO footage I've ever seen, but I did think it was interesting. There's a lot going on in the world right now, so for this stuff to still be happening, I kind of start thinking, are they paying extra attention? Do aliens support, Black Lives Matter, that kind of thing? So, yeah, I don't know.
Would aliens think any of our lives matter?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because a lot of people talk about aliens in the sense that, when you guys catch a fish, do you really care? Or do you just throw it back? Or do you, take it home and skin it and eat it?
I would take it home, skin it, and eat it.
Yeah.
But I'm that kind of chick.
Right. So we don't really care about, lesser beings like that. If the aliens are truly advanced enough to get across the galaxy, at light speed, then, what chance do we have to worry about it? Anyway,
but that's a wet streets cause rain logical fallacy.
How so?
You're presupposing they cross the galaxy. If there are aliens and if they're observed on Earth, that's the fact that you have to proceed from. Speculation as to how they got there, if indeed they did travel to get there, is a logical fallacy. If they're here, they can get here because they're here. If I'm a stage magician and I use a smoke bomb to make it look like I teleported from the audience to the stage, that's not necessarily how I actually got to the stage. I may not have even been in the audience. And it's quite well documented that quote-unquote aliens in most cases indulge in deception and masquerades, like Carla Turner's book Masquerade of Angels. So, for example, if you've got a dog, depending on the intelligence of the dog, it may or may not know that you're hiding a treat in one of your hands. But it is actually possible to fool a dog. And dog cosmology or dog speculation as to the masters and the mistresses and our godlike powers is going to be in many cases wrong. The same way a goldfish's speculation about flame that it sees outside its aquarium is going to be wrong. It's beyond their reality box. It's beyond their comprehension. So the motives of so-called aliens could well be beyond our comprehension in a couple of different ways.
I would imagine it is beyond our comprehension.
Well, it seems to be, but that doesn't mean that it is, any more than stage magic is real.
Yeah, let's see. I got another recent video. This is December 27th, 2018, which is not really recent, but for right now it is. Let's see if this one's any more interesting.
Whatever the hell that is. I can't see it from my windshield, but I can see it. That just disappeared.
What do you guys think of that one?
Fascinating.
It's a weird one.
Yeah.
I'm doing best to find stuff for this segment of the show that I haven't seen before. Maybe it's been overlooked. See if there's anything spectacular about it. This one stood out to me. Just the guy's voice is really calm. And that's something I started thinking about. Are most people calm when they see this simply because it's so unbelievable? Or is it just not that scary?
I think confusion can probably be mistaken for calmness.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There's interesting stuff out there with this UFO stuff, Let's see. And speaking of aliens, I thought we'd take a little look at if you guys don't know who this is,
Walton.
Travis Walton. And if you don't know who that is, he was in a movie called Fire in the Sky. It's a dramatic retelling of what he claimed to have been going through. And this segment I wanted to play right here is him describing the aliens. So I thought we'd just touch on that for a second.
They look like
they were hairless, small, huge eyes, and they just kept staring at me.
did they look at all like the beings? I don't know if you've seen these wooden beings that
No, these local carvings are painted green, and they certainly weren't green. They were kind of a grayish white. But
were they that? How tall were they? About?
they were only like 3 or 4 feet tall.
Okay. And were they wearing clothes?
Yes. Yeah, they were wearing orangish brown coveralls.
And when you took the tool and kind of got off the table, did they kind of scurry away, or what was
Yeah,
their reaction?
that made them stop where they. And then I was planning on fighting my way past them because the only door was on the other side of them. But they just suddenly turned and
How big was this room that you were in?
it was pretty claustrophobic. It was pretty small. It was.
So just to give you guys some context on that, this is somebody who for years has been saying he experienced an actual abduction. And, just for me, it's kind of overwhelming to think that, I have never seen really aliens before. How would I react to it? And this guy's been telling the story for so many years. If this guy is telling the truth, then this is somebody actually describing something I've wondered about all my life. Small aliens confirmed. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about. It's there's another famous quote zombie we've talked about where he also mentions that they weren't green. If you remember that story.
Yeah. And the interesting thing with Travis Walton is he's never been debunked or really successfully attacked. It comes down to his direct testimony versus circumstantial evidence and innuendo. And he mentioned seeing different sorts of creatures on the vehicle or in the area where he was when he was abducted. So once again, you have a mix of different creatures in the same encounter. It's a fascinating case, especially because he disappears. This is the one where he disappears and then he turns up. Physically
he was
disappears
down for a couple days, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly.
That's right.
I think the movie, from what I remember, it was enough for a couple of detectives to get together and say this was a group of people that went out in the woods and murdered their friend or coworker. And yeah, he
Well,
was
I actually met Travis Walton at a UFO conference back in 2015. He was one of the presenters, and what happens afterwards, you go to dinner with all of them and you talk to them and all of these sort of cobblers. And he was very unhappy with the movie. He was happy to begin with, but he was unhappy in later years because the liberties taken with it distorted his story, and it's become a real issue about his honesty. And obviously that's very upsetting if you have a real experience and you try and explain it honestly, and then people just flat out call you a liar. And the liberties taken in the movie, the changes in the movie, have not helped him, of course, because people base his encounter on the movie and not what he actually directly said. That was the same thing with the Mothman Prophecies movie, where things that John Keel, the researcher, had kept separate, even in his popular books he wrote, he's kept separate, were just mashed together to be part of the same story. And Fire in the Sky, the movie, is a bit like that. The appearance of the aliens in it and the wet organic technology and so on, that's not part of his original testimony. But he's an interesting guy. He's very down to earth. Some of the UFO experiences like him end up becoming the center of a cult, or the experience is so dramatic that it causes PTSD, but it also causes dissociation, so that they turn to spiritual explanations that don't require rational understanding. But he's absolutely not one of them, not in any way. So he's very down to earth. It's very credible.
Yeah, and further backstory, if you guys are interested in Travis Walton, the movie's called Fire in the Sky. It stars Robert Patrick, who you might know as the T-1000. It's a really good kind of whodunit movie, except you get towards the end with the alien abduction, and it's horrifying. Thunderdome saying, scared the pants off me. Especially, he tears apart this pod and finds a body inside, and it was very malevolent presence. But from what I remember reading, they weren't necessarily as malevolent in the actual experience that Travis Walton had. And Dark Spawn in the chat says you left out the part that goes in the story when he encounters the blue jumpsuit tan-skinned Nordics, and he called them Tausetians. I seem to remember something about that, but it's worth digging into if you like mysterious stuff. Fire in the Sky is a really good movie. I'm gonna actually force my sister to watch it with me later tonight, probably. I showed her some clips of it earlier, and it's a really good 90s animatronic X-Files feeling rather than some current year CGI fest. Yeah, so I thought he had a pretty interesting story. Bundard was talking about Communion. I think that was a Whiteley Strieber's book. Whiteley Strieber's a pretty interesting character. But yeah, check out Fire in the Sky if you're interested in that. And I got one more UFO video. And we're okay. This one's described as a white jellyfish.
Mm-hmm.
This is so classic, like early YouTube days of how they made stuff. the big green screen with text. Emitted orange. So I guess that kind of looks like a jellyfish. It's not the most compelling video I've ever seen on UFOs, honestly, but I don't know. This video had a kind of certain feel to me, I guess.
You just liked that it was all crooked.
I liked that it was crooked. I liked that it had the old feel. It's kind of a time capsule of early YouTube. And it's only got 2,000 views on the video. But, what if this person out there who filmed in portrait mode had actually caught something? And the way they described it stood out to me as well. Just, I don't know, just some food for thought, I guess. And this was uploaded February 1st, 2014. So not exactly new. But I don't know. Were you guys particularly compelled on that one?
The last bit was, I don't understand how it's hidden like days earlier.
Yeah.
But- But the last bit with whatever that was in the sky was far more compelling than the beginning of it.
Yeah. What do you think, Pickles?
It reminds me of one of those creatures from the Elder Scrolls. If you know what I'm on about. They're like these tentacly jellyfish-looking things, and like the dark elves ride them. It kind of reminds me of that.
Maybe some synchronicity, perhaps.
But if it was at nighttime, it might look a lot like that previous video.
Yeah.
You know,
Anyway,
because it's daytime instead of night, you don't get as good a resolution on the two big lights at the back end of it.
yeah. But anyway, this segment of the show is just to point out some things. Maybe one day I'm doing the research for this and I come across a real gem that just was overlooked by people.
Are there any of the infrared pictures on YouTube? That's very common at UFO conferences and in UFO experiencer groups, where you can easily do it with any camera, not a phone, but a camera, where you take out the filter so that it's photographing in infrared. And then they basically sit around in a car park or whatever, drinking hot chocolate with the cameras pointed at the sky, and either watch it live or watch it later to see what you can't see with your naked eye, which is actually flitting around. Sometimes it's nothing, but sometimes, yes, there's some extremely strange stuff. I'll see if I can find some on. I'm still in communication with some of the ex-MUFON people. I'll ask them if they've got any. They certainly used to have libraries of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Not, and it's not all just blobs. That's the thing. Some of them have got actual distinct shapes, hard edge shapes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets back into the Project Beta, Paul Benowitz stuff, where there was I suppose in common terms, a cloaked aircraft. That's the Dulce base hoax. That Dulce base hoax was to cover this thing up. Nuclear-powered aircraft, and also this one that could turn invisible with camera-based invisibility. That's what it, when we were discussing it at the time, that's what they were sort of saying. Oh, these are aliens operating on different frequencies, and I was the more skeptical person saying, well, what you're actually seeing is something that's absorbing and reflecting in the infrared rather than the visible spectrum. So it's a physical object which is invisible to us because our spectrum of vision doesn't include infrared. Like if you've got a real creature which absorbs and reflects in infrared, it's invisible to the human eye. It's a physical thing, but it's just invisible to us. That's not magic, and it's not high technology either. But these infrared pictures captured all sorts of weird stuff. But because they were so extraterrestrial, alien, UFO focused in those groups that I visited at the time, they just disregarded stuff that was far more interesting, and in a couple of cases guaranteed secret technology. But I'll talk to the guy himself. I think he lives in the Philippines now. I'll email him and ask him that, you know, this is a kind of belief. It's not, nobody's debunking and nobody's forming a cult around it. But can we use some of your vids? Can you just put some of your vids into a Dropbox? And I mean, he could come on for that matter. He's around.
Oh, that would be cool.
He disengaged when Bigelow, the James Bond villain, CIA frontman, took over the UFO groups and started marketing all of his hoaxes like Skinwalker Ranch. And this guy was one of the serious investigators for many years. And he just thought, you know what, this shit's tired. I'm out. I'm gone. I'm not going to be used as a frontman for your schemes. So he basically just took his, because what happened, a lot of the experiencer lists and UFO reports, a lot of confidential information, sensitive information in those reports is just handed over to Bigelow, and then from him handed over to NSA, CIA. And that's just wrong on the face of it. But in the process, a lot of the real stuff was lost, like these infrared video clips. And another thing, interestingly, that was lost was all of the Christian UFO research group. Well, they called them exorcisms, whatever they are, but they're telepathic or spiritual combat against alleged aliens.
Well, speaking of aliens and going down the YouTube rabbit hole, I seem to have found one. Looks like he's avoiding infrared capture as why turning his skin orange as well.
What?
That's horrifying.
Oh, that is
The
horrifying.
government should take that video down. Not to derail what you were saying, Zombie. The more people we can get.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you talking about Liam Gray?
The orange gray is live streaming at the moment.
Is he?
Oh, right.
Yeah. He's from the
Left and then down
Australia
the river.
Centauri system, I guess.
But did people ever wonder why the 1990s style UFO groups and their footage and their reports have completely disappeared? It was a deliberate, structured effort led by Bigelow for CIA and AFOSI. AFOSI created a lot of fake front UFO groups, and they created a lot of fake stories that people still repeat to this day as though they're true in this very chat. And in the process, destroyed all of the real stuff by drowning it out in the signal to noise ratio. And then Bigelow came along as the second punch in that operation years later to scoop everything else up. And so now you no longer have the same kind of lively, reality-based, grounded UFO research community. Now you've got cultists, freaks, snake oil salesmen, and people who have copied the AFOSI structured hoaxing, but just for commercial purposes. Very sad.
Somebody had a question for me in the chat on my what I think of aliens, and I think as far as my theory on aliens go, I think they're real, and I think if they're not from across the universe, then they might be actually demonic in nature, and most definitely sinister. These are not benevolent beings that came into our universe. And I'm not having memories of being in the MIB before I got wiped because I wouldn't remember if I was.
Remember what?
Oh, Victor is teasing me in the chat.
No, I mean, remember what?
Exactly. So
Took you just a second too long, Mecha. You blew the punchline of that.
Anyway, so I found this video of John Lennon, and I wanted to show this one, and I'm going to introduce a new element to the show after this. But do you know anything about this zombie?
Is this his New York sighting?
I think it is, yeah.
Where they looked out the window and they saw it close up moving between the buildings. Yeah.
So if I just met you guys somewhere, we're having a conversation around the fireplace, like, oh yeah, John Lennon says that he saw a UFO, and they actually had it. That'd be pretty crazy. And let's see. I want to talk about ghosts next week. Well, if you want to come on the show, Bunderdome.
Yeah,
always welcome.
Very welcome to join us.
Yeah, let me get this video spooled up. That's how you know it's a good video.
Wow.
Up there, I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river. It wasn't a helicopter, it wasn't a balloon, and it was so near.
And it looked what, sort of round, white, luminescent, and silent.
Silent, and it looked dark, like black or gray in the middle, and had white lights, just looked like light bulbs, just going off, on, blink, 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 round the bottom, and on top was a red light.
If you see a little note on walls and bridges, it says, I saw a UFO, and I was just finished.
Don't want to get your copy struck.
Thank you.
We should be okay. Yeah, I don't know. That was, what's funny to me about that video is that he described like the specific directions, and that's a very interesting detail. He went that way, turned left, went to the UN building, and that really stood out to me for some reason. Yoko really got to him. Sole UFO witness over Manhattan. I didn't even know that John Lennon had a UFO experience until today.
Really?
Yeah, I'd never heard of this before.
That's actually the first time I'm hearing about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, let's see. I'll keep playing the video muted, see if he's got anything else going on. Let's see. Oh, he has a quote here. If the masses started to accept UFOs, it would profoundly affect their attitudes towards life, politics, everything. It would threaten the status quo. Whenever people come to realize that there are larger considerations than their own petty little lives, they are ripe to make. Come back here. They are ripe to make radical changes on a personal level, which eventually would lead to a political revolution. John Lennon, just shut up, please. I do think it's really interesting that he had a UFO encounter.
I think John Lennon's permanently shut up now. So
he's what?
He's permanently shut up now.
It depends which John Lennon you mean.
No, that's a kind
One
of
of them.
that's different.
One of them's still alive and well in Canada. He sang on his own independent film about a man pretending to be John Lennon.
What?
And then the film was taken out of distribution when people said, wait, you're not a John Lennon impersonator, you're fucking John Lennon. The moment that happened, they removed the film from circulation.
Damn. So it wasn't just the drugs.
It's an interesting story because if it's all just... If you're going to do a film about a Lennon impersonator,
yeah,
okay, wouldn't you want that kind of publicity to get more sales? This is one of the only films in history where they dodged their own sales. They killed their own hard-on. Like, uniquely in film. So, kind of interesting. I'll find a link to the film.
3 Spooky 5 Me. Yeah, exactly.
Well, wasn't there also some sort of rumor about
Paul McCartney?
Paul is dead. Yeah, Paul is dead. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could hear it if you play the record backward or something like that.
Well, you can also see it in a photograph where there are 2 Paul McCartneys on the same boat. So, 2 identical Paul McCartneys, one standing closer to the mast during a party and the other one's just on the edge of one of the decks. And there's a lot more. It's a full topic and a very interesting one. The film's name is Let Him Be, released in 2009. Clip still up on YouTube as of 2014. Chock full of big red flags. The film is a pretend hunt for a living John Lennon. And a man called Mark Stacer, who is supposed to be a North American who puts on a Liverpudlian English accent, has a more convincing English accent than he does a North American accent, even though when he's out of character, he's meant to be North American, and so on and so forth.
Oh, Blacklist Universe is watching us. Paul is dead, he agrees. Rare Blacklist Universe sighting. I think Mike S. Miller is actually from another planet. But, yeah. But anyway, let me... I'm sorry for having Liam Gray on the screen. I know he's much more frightening than anything else I could come up with. I have another story about the Denver airport, but I think I've spoken so much and taken up so much of everyone's time that I need to give the mic over to somebody else. We'll come back to the Denver airport story.
We can come back to the Denver airport story for sure. So since that was kind of quick, I was expecting the airport. I'm not quite ready, but let me go.
Oh, okay. Well, do we want to go to the Black Knight?
I am all good. Give me just a second here. All right. Hello, everyone. It is my turn, and we go to Hollywood Mysteries.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Tonight, I'm not going to show you any videos that were culled from the web, but I am going to tell you the story of the Black Dahlia of the disco era.
Ooh,
cool.
Her name, it was Christina Helm. She was found on a Hollywood street, stabbed over 20 times, and bludgeoned to death.
Ooh.
I know, right?
My favorite kind of murder.
She was a 27-year-old aspiring actress, originally from a small town in Wisconsin. When she was 16, she got pregnant, was forced to get married to a much older man. He was 27, I believe, at the time. And shortly after she had the baby, her husband just disappeared, never to be heard from again. She moved to New York, got a job as a waitress and modeling jobs waiting to be discovered. She made friends with the costume designer, this is Lenny Barron, who introduced her to Studio 54 and all the elites in New York. One of these people was a Broadway producer by the name of Stuart Duncan. He was the guy behind Godspell and was so taken with her that he put her in his movie because he was going to make films, and it was called Go for Broke in 1974. He also gave her stock in his musical Godspell, so she never really had to work again. She made some good money off of him.
Ooh.
Yeah, she was really hot.
Looks like
Apparently, the movie was sort of like this campy James Bondish kind of takeoff. I don't know.
Like cats.
Yes, she took a lot of pictures with cats. After that one movie, she decided it was time to go to LA and really get her acting
Closer to the murder part now.
Yes, indeed. Well, I got to tell you about her because she's kind of interesting. She deserves
I'm
more
saying
than just being left on a sidewalk, stabbed
No,
to death.
I just meant like as soon as you get to the part of the story where LA is concerned. It can only get worse from there, right?
It can only get worse from here. So she decided it was time to move to LA, and her acting career was limited to a couple commercials, playing a waitress on Starsky and Hutch, and a bitchy beauty queen on Wonder Woman. Since it wasn't really going anywhere, she decided to get into the music business and record a disco album, of all things, where she started having an affair with her female backup singer. She also liked to party a lot.
She was a lesbian?
She denied being a lesbian, right? But she was involved with, she was tied to Mick Jagger, Warren Beatty, Jack Nicholson, and even Roman Polanski.
And the Java Run.
She really got around and liked a lot of men. She was the party girl, you know. So she also kept a diary. Not just any diary, but one that described in great detail her sex life. Who she had sex with, what they did, what she was wearing. She even rated them. Yeah.
Look at that head of hair. My goodness.
It was the 70s. We had great hair in the 70s.
Did you?
Yes. I was just a little one, but I still had great hair. The diary, she took it everywhere. She wasn't too quiet about the diary, but it never left her person. On February 12th, 1977, she went to a party. She left that party early to go to her agent's home. His name was Sandy Smith. She was stabbed in front of Smith's home over 20 times. She had defensive wounds on her hands, and eventually she was bludgeoned to death. Smith denied hearing any of it. One neighbor claimed to have heard two women and a man fighting, and she was found with her car keys in her hand next to her car, and her purse was missing along with her diary.
The diary is a big piece of this, isn't it?
The diary is the big piece of this. See, so we even have Warren Beatty, we have George Hamilton. This was the newspaper article from the next day. She knew literally everybody. Her daughter learned to swim at Engelbert Humperdinck's house. Yeah, she was connected to Desi Arnaz. I mean, you name it. And this honey had all of them. And they were all written in her book. So
she should have went to see Star Wars.
So who could it have been that murdered her? Sandy.
Somebody brought up that it could have been the cat earlier.
Could have been the cat. Yeah. Was it Sandy Smith, the agent, who said he was home alone and asleep, but the neighbor said he had people in and out of his house all night long? Could it have been?
Sorry.
Yeah. Could it have been Patty Collins, who was the backup singer, who knew she was being cheated on and also denied that they were having a relationship? There was also a drug dealer by the name of Rudy Mazzella, whom she was holding drugs for and kept sneaking a little bit off the top. Could it have been Tony Sirico? Yeah, that's the guy from The Sopranos, who, according to Christina's roommate, showed up at her house after that party on the night Christina died, claiming he was there to check on her. And when he left, he stole some furs and documents, and possibly the tape recordings of some of the sex sessions that she had had. Or was Tony sent by a Hollywood power broker who police claim was on one of those tapes having a three-way with Christina and an unknown woman? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. They had collected some DNA at the scene, but, you know, those were the days before real DNA testing.
Yeah.
So,
This is crazy. It's do you think she was a honeypot?
I don't know. I think that with her career not really going anywhere, getting into trouble with the gangsters, I think she was moving towards blackmailing people.
You know, it's so funny you say that. You know, we encounter so many people that when they can't get legitimate interests going and get an audience for stuff they want to talk about, like UFOs and such, they turn to using their sexuality to garner an audience and a following and become mods on artists' pro-secret channels. You know, it's just funny how, you know, like we know somebody that's into aliens and stuff, and she ended up trying to do the same kind of use her body to get ahead kind of thing that this lady did, and we're seeing it happen right before our very eyes. You know,
I also think she just really liked it. You know, she liked the partying and thought that that's what, you know, she was there for in a way. It was her thing. She did it in New York. That's why she left home. It's why she left her child, you know, with a nanny in Vermont when she went to New York. It was the 70s, man.
But there's inconsistent behavior here, because you could understand the diary, but not the taping.
Right.
Because anybody who she slept with who discovered the tapes, that would be the end of her lifestyle and possibly her life. So that might be somebody else's idea, the taping. Either another woman who she lived with, or a boyfriend, or a pimp, or somebody from an agency, intel agency, I mean.
So you're saying she might have been an unwitting participant in the videotaping?
Oh no, I don't think unwitting. These sort of party girls are normally not unwitting participants, but they know they're not smart enough to be a wheeler dealer like the producers. So they want to sort of participate, and in an intellectual way, like a planning way, but they're not really planners. So they're very useful. In fact, for some of these schemes, they're essential, but they want to sort of move up to management. And these sorts of people are ultimately disposable cutouts. They'll never be allowed to move to management for lots of reasons. So she would, if she's being taped having sex, this gets back to like last week with Bob Crane. He was open in how he recorded his sex sessions. He didn't disguise the fact he was recording it. The Krista Helm ones were actually secret tapes, secret recordings. It was set up as a secret recording. That's like the Playboy Mansion tapes that the Hefner family created.
Yeah, very much so.
So that's blackmail.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh no, it's just a kink thing." Well, it could be honeypot, midnight climax style, or it could be. I mean, this is like the Manson murders. One of the motives, so-called Manson murders, one of the motives for that was recovery of some very, very off-color sex tape material, and it's a common theme. It's not like it's unusual. It's actually almost universal, pun intended, that these people are filmed in compromising positions. in the same way some organised crime requires a new member to commit a murder. There has to be blackmail material. It's like the war campaign dick pics thing. There has to be some compromising material to keep people in line. So she was a tool used to create that compromising material. And so if you want to look at it that way, you've got to look at the people who were taped. Who were they?
Yeah. Those tapes all disappeared.
But we know who was on them because another woman blabbed. And that woman ran off to Nevada and then disappeared and then was killed riding a motorcycle, which is odd because one of the JFK witnesses was a woman who was killed riding a motorcycle too. So kind of odd parallel. But Shah of Iran, Warren Beatty, who was a mover and a shaker, he was a leading man, but he was also connected in other ways and so on. So possibly, she was executed for that. The multiple stabbing, that indicates a crime of emotion or passion, or it could be done deliberately because she wasn't the only, and she still isn't the only woman doing it. It could also be a way of warning other people to keep them in line, like you're going to die buckwheats, like you're going to die really badly, you're going to have a horrible death if you step out of line. She may have tried to run her own blackmail using something that was set up organizationally. She stole drugs off the top. So she might have thought, well, this extortion racket, I can do that too. I can get a few presents as well. I'm the person actually doing the sex. Why shouldn't I get a little bit more out of it than that? It's happened several times.
Yeah.
To this day.
To this day.
Not a new story.
Oh, a lot of people are talking about Sheila Alien in the chat. I don't know why they would bring her up, but Butterdome connects this train of thought to the Clinton body count.
Arkansas, boys on the tracks.
Arkansas.
Haven't you heard that? That's what it's called.
Yeah, because they're from Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas.
Yeah.
The crimes of Maynard, you know, the CIA drug flights, the boys on the tracks. Have you heard of them? The boys murdered by some of the pickup team. There was a retrieval team and they fell across the boys, murdered them horribly.
I'm not familiar with this story.
No, me neither.
Okay. That's probably worthy of its own
episode?
I don't know, episode, but I mean...
Or a segment, at least.
Yeah.
Somebody wants us to ask Mitch's wife about it.
It's funny because I back and probably when I was around 22 or something, we had a client who was a lawyer from Arkansas who insisted that it was common knowledge in Arkansas that Hillary was a dyke. And that there was a lot of cover-up going on there between Bill being the beard, and that's why they only had the one child.
Yeah. But then there's the stuff about Bill Clinton being bisexual or gay.
Yeah.
I wish the dress picture in Epstein's mansion would.
I'd go bisexual. After all,
yeah,
he did commit rape.
But the type of rape that he commits is extremely violent and demeaning. So that would mean he's probably physically bisexual, but homosexual, really, psychologically homosexual, because the aggression towards women that he shows is extremely abusive. So he's not a lover of women. He's not a guy who just can't keep it in his pants. It's a power thing for him.
Right.
And I'd 100% accept the evidence he's bisexual, because when he was at college, he was more notoriously predatory gay rather than predatory straight. Predatory, though. Predatory, obviously. That doesn't change. Horrible person. And they both are, really. But then they're CIA alumni. They're basically white trash versions of Obama, in quotes. The CIA's run that school program for decades now. And that's why they show up in photographs with the previous presidents, because they're groomed or schooled from way back to take the position in the post-coup, post-1963 system. It has the outer form of the system that used to exist, but the the internal workings are not at all the way they used to be. You can see that in the higher court jurisdiction decisions. There's just this kind of vague connection between the written law and the law outcomes in court, in the higher courts, and not just in America, in the Anglosphere in general.
Interesting. So I guess I think we've covered that. It's time for pickles next.
My turn.
Pickles. Listen,
Pickles?
we
He's
have a
been so
mothership.
quiet.
We have a mothership ready to abduct you should your story suck.
I don't know. Is it going to work? He's wearing his hat.
Yeah, well, I'll have to knock it off him if it goes badly, and then anyway, I said too much.
Yeah. All
That
right.
was a very cute pickle.
He is a cute pickle.
He's a cute pickle.
You got the anime eyes.
Yeah.
I am going to find
Kawaii desu.
Pickles' screen here. And let's see, share. I had to find his documentation because apparently I'm doing it for him tonight.
No, I'll talk about it.
Yeah, you do get to talk about it. It's your story. Yeah. All right.
Well, the link that I sent is the 1998 images of the alleged Black Knight satellite, as you can probably see in the screen share.
Can I go ahead and play this?
Yeah.
Whoops.
I think you can scroll down. It shows the images.
Hold on. My nod did not like your link. Hold on. My antivirus wanted to know if I wanted to block your link here.
No. No.
No, do not block link. It's probably still trying to block the link. So I guess it's not going to play your video.
You can scroll down. It'll show the images.
Here we go. Here we go. Image.
Yeah.
Is this what we're talking about here?
Yeah. That's the image taken in 1998 of the alleged Black Knight satellite. If anyone wants to know about...
Still holding.
Is what?
Hold on. It started playing. I had to stop it.
Oh, Duo X reported us to the CIA, so no videos will play now. Sorry, guys. The party's over.
Oh, no. Okay.
Well, Duo X is about to be abducted by the mothership, so have fun with it.
From what I've read about the Black Knight satellite, it's an extraterrestrial satellite that watches us basically. And the stories that I've seen is that the first recording of it dates back to 1899, and
That old?
1899, and it was picked up by Tesla.
You're kidding me.
No, that's what I've read.
This is okay. Just keep going. I'm sorry. That's just kind of mind-boggling to me.
Then it was also heard in 1928 by a radio person.
Vicky, Asuka asked you to protect your router and not to uppercut your mother with it.
I promise.
Anonymous is watching us. I'm sorry. I'm having a little fun tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
In 1954 as well, a researcher reported that they discovered a second satellite in space, which is the Black Knight satellite, which back then, I don't think satellites were in space in 1954. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Zombie.
Sputnik.
That's right.
Yeah. So there was one. It was the Russian one.
And way smaller.
Yeah, way smaller than the one that they detected. I think it was a heavy buy as well. And basically, some people that have also done more research into it predicts that the echoes from it can date back 13,000 years. So the speculation that this has been watching Earth kind of like progress over the centuries. So it kind of, to me, that kind of feels like a weird reality show kind of thing. Like, you know how we go to zoos and look at animals? It kind of feels like that to me.
The Black Knight satellite.
Whoa, my mouse is going insane. Sorry about that.
Are you being abducted, Vicky?
They're trying, man. They are trying.
That's why Black Knight? Actually, is my question.
Well, because it's a black satellite, black object, I guess.
And it was seen at night.
It was the code name given to it in February 1960. U.S. Navy. This is a compilation of several different events. The specific Black Knight is February 1960. They were setting up the electronic fence. They were still improving it. They detected it in a polar orbit, passing over both the poles of the Earth, and they codenamed it Black Knight because it was a.
Didn't they originally thought it was the Soviet satellite at first?
No,
I'm from sure. I read somewhere that they thought it was Soviet.
That's a different thing. When Sputnik went up, the US was catching up. They were observing Sputnik and they were trying to find basically anything else up there. A vague reference to this is in the You Only Live Twice James Bond film. James Bond films used to be made by people with intel contacts. So things leak out in those films through the 60s and 70s because sort of manly men from the intel services would let things slip to the producers, whether or not that was deliberate controlled release of fact or more manipulation. But in You Only Live Twice, there's a mystery object which swallows other spaceships. And in the 50s, there was a sighting of a satellite that's too massive to have been launched from Earth at the time. The 1960 February observation was the one specifically codenamed Black Knight. And this has become one of these topics where, like all the alien greys, different things are all rolled together with no evidence to connect them together. The 1899 broadcast intercepted by Tesla was from Mars. The echo that indicates an object close to Earth in orbit is bouncing radio signals back or making them persist is a different effect again. There are specific radio bounces that have been obtained from the 1960 object. And the 1960 object did broadcast because radio ham operators received messages which were believed to be in code. Now, one of those messages is one of the ones, these messages from 1960, is the one that was allegedly decoded successfully, which provided a star chart which plotted a course 13,000 years ago from the Epsilon Boötes star system, which is a relatively close to Earth star system. Now, Grumman, I think it's Grumman or one of those aircraft corporations, actually used a tracking camera to radar detect the Black Knight satellite, and that was in September 1960. So codename Black Knight is the 1960 object, and anything else in the polar orbit with the associated radar tracking and so on. And there's quite an extensive file on it. It's not a fast walker. It's not a fast-moving small unidentified aerial vehicle in low Earth orbit or close to Earth, but it still set off the electronic perimeter, and it kept on doing it. But the strange thing about Black Knight is it appeared and disappeared, still does. It's got nothing to do with that picture of the drone that they use as the Black Knight picture. The Italian astronaut who photographed that has been debunked as space junk, blah, blah, blah. It's not space junk. It's just an odd angle of drone in very high altitude. But the actual Black Knight was a dark satellite, in quotes. It was dark for two reasons. Firstly, it was completely off the books, unknown, therefore dark or black. And second of all, it was more radar absorptive and radio absorptive than a normal metallic object in orbit. And it didn't do the beep, 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 beep Sputnik type broadcast, which was considered to be industry standard. But these transmissions from the received by the ham radio operators, they're still around. They used to be more common online. I don't know. They kind of disappeared, dried up now. There's a Time magazine article, March 7th, 1960. 3 weeks ago, headlines announced that the US had detected a mysterious dark satellite wheeling overhead on a regular orbit. There was never speculation that it might be a surveillance satellite launched by the Russians, and it brought the uneasy sensation that the US did not know what was going on over its own head. But last week, the Department of Defense proudly announced that the satellite had been identified. It was a space derelict, the remains of an Air Force Discoverer satellite that had gone astray. And then it's just explained away in that article. But as usual with those sort of explanations, it's superficially convincing, but the Discoverer satellite in no way, shape or form conforms to what was observed and measured. And here is a final, really fucking out there thing. Philip K. Dick was shot in the forehead by a mysterious beam of pink energy, and he's not the only person who has been shot by such a pink beam from the sky. And he associated that, or believed that that ray came from the Black Knight satellite, which he also codenamed Zebra or Valis. He believed that it was a probe sent by a race from another star system to observe and interact with Earthlings. And it sent him mad. The contact with the alien intelligence sent him mad. But it inspired him to write various novels like Radio Free Albemuth. Radio Free Albemuth, the title is a reference to the Black Knight satellite and the radio broadcast that it makes.
Wasn't he schizophrenic?
He could well have been.
Seven asked if you have been shot with the pink ray zombie.
No, I've never experienced the pink ray phenomenon, but it's a well documented phenomenon.
Because I read Valis, and it was a confusing read. Yeah.
Well, it's part of his exegesis. So he wrote his equivalent of books of the Bible. So you've got to read them what he called holographically, and several times to get the full effect.
Exegesis was difficult. Was really hard to get through.
No. His literary agent and one of his widows published something as the exegesis.
Yeah.
But that's not the exegesis. Philip K. Dick himself tells us what the exegesis is. It's a list of some of his novels and short stories over the years, plus what they call the exegesis, which is really like his notes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the exegesis is basically a diary.
Yeah.
The so-called exegesis is a diary.
Well, let me ask Pickles this: what originally interested you about the Black Knight satellite? Because when you damned me about it, it was kind of like you really wanted to talk about this.
Well, the Black Knight satellite is kind of like for me, it's kind of eerie that there's aliens just observing everyone. Yeah. And the Black Knight satellite, I don't think many people know about it. Well,
I've never heard about it.
I think a lot of people do know about it, but you don't really hear of it a lot. Probably through government trying to censor people talking about it. But yeah, it's kind of weird knowing that there could be aliens just watching whatever we do, observing how we evolve our technology and maybe helping us with our technology.
It kind of throws a zoo fence on the whole planet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's also a terrifying thought to me.
That gets back to Charles Fort. He was the one who said we are property and that there's a fence around the earth, that we're just cattle in a field for somebody else.
Jeez. Reminds me of those stories of cows being mutilated back in the 90s.
And not just cows, and not just in the 90s.
Yeah. Martina Markota has announced that she is a Nephilim.
That's not new. That's old. Yeah, that's not new news.
Do you think the Black Knight satellite dropped Martina Markota off?
Maybe it hit her with the pink beam.
Do you think they hit Liam Gray with the orange beam? every day that he streams.
Well, like Vicky mentioned schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Which is substantially a chemical imbalance. It gets into things like shamanism, like schizophrenia sometimes seems to produce artistic talent or a different enough perception, which if it can be expressed coherently is actually interesting or entertaining. So linking schizophrenia to some forms of artistic expression might explain some of the people that we encounter in independent comics. And I don't mean that as some sort of slam or joke. I just mean people who feel excluded or feel a sort of outsider status are going to identify it's not the only reason to read superhero comics, but they're going to identify with some superhero characters, aren't they? For obvious reasons. Where it's dangerous is when it becomes a fantasy-prone individual's thesis that they have some sort of set of powers that are given to them, or that they have a mission to accomplish. Because talking like that, that's a red flag, isn't it? Really. And this Nephilim stuff that the other woman talks about, I mean, it could just be a typical grift, like the other lady who's been referred to today, just grifting, and they don't believe any of it. But Genesis 6 Nephilim, sons of God, having sex with human women to produce hybrids and so on. It's not mainstream, but it's a relatively common belief that some people have. But in terms of genetic analysis, there are missing links in the human genetic code, and some of them do link for polydactyly in humans, like 6 fingers, which is one of the Nephilim traits, and double rows of teeth, which is another Nephilim trait. But I kind of believe that the Nephilim that she's referring to with the particular blood type,
RH.
Yeah, the RH
well,
negative.
she didn't describe it correctly, but the particular blood complex marker that she's talking about is linked to red hair, giantism, polydactyly, 2 rows of teeth. And there was a race of red-headed giants who lived across North America in ancient times. So, as usual, things that have some factual basis in scientific research and open-minded scholarship are being misused, perverted, and claimed by grifters and nonsense-spouting people on the make. And that's common to all fringe areas, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, that's where the giant in the David and Goliath story comes from, isn't it?
Some people think so, yes.
Yeah.
But of course, is it David? Because he's named something else a couple of pages later. A mistake made its way into that book in the Bible where he's called one thing, then he's called another. Like the person
There's plenty of mistakes in the Bible. That's why we have.
But that's quite a noticeable one, because in the same story, the guy with the sling is called 2 different names, just really, really close together, and that indicates that
he went by David and Mecha at some point.
and it's interesting because that means there were 2 distinct stories until relatively recently about that incident. But there's Gog, Magog, the Anakim, the Nephilim,
the Anunnaki,
the Ramoth. The implicit ancient Shemitic, which is what the Hebrew comes from, indicates you've got monstrous ones, you've got ones that are more just like giant people but are flesh eaters, like cannibals, and you've got ones that are just like really, really big but basically human. And they were the ones who dwelled in the land that the Israelites took, the ones who made the Israelites feel as grasshoppers in their own sight. So that's really big. And then you find the tombs of them and the physical remains of them across North America.
Put Mike on. Put Mike on. That's funny. Jim Turner says Doug TeNaples the one if you want to debate Giants, Bible, and the Book of Enoch. Well, we were talking about Martina Markota, and we ended up there. So that's pretty cool.
No, but that's because that's what she's referencing. She's referencing the Nephilim as physical giants. And then they put this weird, baseless spiritual dimension to it, which doesn't have any scholarship of any kind behind it.
All for the
Og of Bashan, that's another one.
Who?
Og of Bashan.
Arthur Bashan.
Og of Bashan, a man with a 9-foot
King of
head.
Og there that Robert Mechanic brought up.
No, but Og is the man. Bashan is the kingdom.
Ah.
Ikaru.
And the interesting thing about that version of the Nephilim is it feeds back into the Phoenicians.
Ooh, we brought up the Phoenicians last week a little bit.
Well, they hid themselves in history, but you're going to keep tripping over them because although they hid themselves, the things that they got tangled up with are not hidden. They just diverted away from them.
Somebody wants you to turn this into a comic book, Zombie.
Oh, that sort of crap's been in comics for ages in different ways. I mean, in all seriousness, Jack Kirby, because he was a Kabbalist, he was a Jewish scholar, very, very, very wise man, wiser than most rabbis. He put all of this, he put the face on Mars in one of his comics before anybody found it in the 1970s. He put all of this stuff in his comics and his stories.
Yeah, Kirby had some interesting subject matter.
But all within one thesis based on his own experiences and research.
In World War II?
Well, from when he was a child. Through World War II, yeah. He had a near-death experience during World War II. And that's what made him change from more light-hearted comics into more meaty sort of I don't know how long I've got, so I want to really, get it all down kind of thing, like really make big changes and stuff.
Yeah, he really had something with Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Kirby.
I'm just joking. Yeah, Kirby was Jack Kirby, Must have been Pink Raid. I don't know. It's so easy to dismiss somebody that's like out there, thinking these big things, and I think that's like a way to extend our own reality box when we get confronted with these challenging ideas.
Well, look, if the concept of the reality box has any validity at all, okay? Schizophrenics are people who've got an inconsistent reality box. Their reality box has got holes in it, so they can look through it. So it doesn't mean what they're seeing is perceived correctly or understood, but it does mean that they're looking out, getting glimpses of something. And this is why schizophrenics were treated as shamans, as priests of the impossible, by some ancient primitive cultures, or current cultures for that matter. But put it this way, let's say UFO aliens are only around at 3 a.m. at night on Wednesdays.
The witching hour.
Whatever. Sometime when most people are asleep. The only people who are going to see them, if they only appear at that kind of time and place, are people who would logically be awake at that time. So there's going to be a preponderance of a certain sort of person who can experience them, just based on where and when they appear. Now, if there are frequencies that dictate what's real and what's perceivable, schizophrenics, scientifically confirmed, see in different frequencies, they're kinesthetic, they can smell colors or have other kind of strange perceptual changes. That means they may see physically real things that other people cannot see. Sometimes.
Frequencies. Yeah.
Yeah, frequencies. Good way of putting it.
Schizophrenics off themselves. Slow. Yeah, that's well, let me segue into a story that we teased earlier.
Denver.
Let me load it up here. And I wanted to segue here because I'd have to ask if some of the people that pursue these kind of things might have schizophrenia themselves. Let me open the Denver airport story with Mustang, or as he's affectionately known, Blucifer.
Lucifer?
Yes, he's a blue horse with glowing red eyes.
And balls.
Yeah.
It's an anatomically correct horse.
Speaking of schizophrenia and offing yourself, the Denver International Airport is where I met my ex-wife.
She was an agent of the Illuminati.
You know, the way our marriage ended, I'd say so. She was definitely part of the CIA, at least. Anyway, notwithstanding, I'll just read some of this story. To its credit, Denver International Airport has a good sense of humor about the conspiracy theories that have plagued it for over its 25-year history. It now features underground lizard people in a new campaign ad. Or is this sense of humor just part of the conspiracy? If you were a schizophrenic zombie, this is like a double loop of disinformation and just having it wide out in the open. Not only is it dismissing somebody through the cruelty of humor, but it's also like shoving it right in their face. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, it has been suggested it's a Freemasonic coup count. In other words, they're announcing a victory by putting it all out there like that. So yes.
And here's this airport from an above ground view. The reason this is so relevant and pictured as such is it kind of looks like a swastika.
Swastika, yeah.
Do you guys think that's on purpose?
Kind of looks like a swastika.
Kinda,
Maybe it's a Hindu peace symbol instead.
Yeah, and then they got this Blucifer thing. The creator of it, artist Luis Jimenez, was killed when a piece of the sculpture fell off and severed an artery in his leg.
Yeah. And
regardless
you see,
of that,
with Freemasonic executions, the man must die by his own work.
Right. Yeah, how convenient. And his family made sure the Mustang still found its way to the airport in 2008. It's 32 feet tall. I've seen this thing in person. It's a lot more shocking than the picture would suggest. It's, I mean, why? Why is this so crazy? Why blue? Apparently the glowing eyes are because the artist's father made his living selling LEDs or something like that.
Really?
Something convenient like that.
Oh, good Lord.
That's way too convenient.
Yeah, and it is for the creepy laser eyes. His family has said that they're actually a homage to Jimenez's father's work with neon lights. Excuse me. Some conspiracy theorists allege that Blucifer represents one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, and the airport was said to design to capture the spirit of the American West. A lot of theories when it comes to the tunnels underneath the IA. Yeah, if you've ever been to this airport, they have this like trolley system, and I believe it does go underground, and it's kind of cool, but most of all, it's really convenient.
It's that the underground tunnels it's like a conspiracy in itself.
Yeah,
of, like the military transporting, secret vehicles underneath these tunnels.
Yeah, and this story here alleges that there's people who claim that there's entire 5-story buildings underneath the airport. So for me, this whole story, I think there's a lot of truth. There's the mural that it's well known. I'm hearing reports that this thing has been removed, but I got a better pictures on this. But Zombie, when you see this story, do you see a lot of disinformation coming out of the same source?
Yeah, I do really. Yeah. I mean, I kind of believe there's more to it because there's too many deliberate acts of confrontational propaganda with this. It's like the Georgia Guidestones, another one. So to me, it's just reeks of Freemasonry. And I say that as the worshipful Lewis of a worshipful 33rd degree one. nor am I committing an act of cruelty with what I'm about to say, so mote it be. But I think that sometimes some brothers get carried away, and rather than jesting with Gentiles, they just take it too far. But it's for the Worshipful Grand Master of the Lodge involved. He was an African American man who supervised it as a work. It becomes exciting when the brothers in the craft can do things in the open rather than doing them in secret. So what you see with the Denver airport has a lot of Masonic imagery, which is quite confronting to non-Masons, because non-Masons obviously aren't in on the joke, pun intended. But I just think it went too far with Denver airports. I just think
it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Well, look, imagine it's just a normal airport which is not shaped like a swastika and doesn't have murals, and it's just got that horse. That horse then just becomes another mistake of modern art. Or let's say it doesn't. Or let's say it doesn't have the blue Mustang with the glowing eyes and the great big balls.
Well,
and it's just
eyes,
got the murals.
Do you? Somebody asked if you think that the eyes shoot pink rays.
Hardy har.
Har har.
Everybody thinks the pink ray's funny till it hits you in the forehead.
Ah.
But have you got any information on the gargoyle?
The gargoyle.
Yeah, Denver Airport has an Asmodeus.
Yeah.
That's
an Asmodeus.
I've heard about the gargoyles, but I don't know. Obviously, I've not really researched the Denver one very much, so I've only heard of these things. I've not properly been educated on it.
Well, for example, La Reine-le-Château in France, where there was supposedly a secret treasure, the church there had a small statue of Jesus and a thumping great picture of statue of Asmodeus as you walk in. That's a gargoyle, Asmodeus, Asmodee. And Denver Airport has a talking gargoyle, which is another Asmodee. So when you have that, that's pretty much like a big flashing sign to people who are in on the joke about what's going on. It's like CIA disinformation features chai, ones and eights, and the number 33. So when you get a news report or anything with 1, 8, 18, 33 in it, that's a CIA guy letting other people in on the joke. No, yeah, everything in this story is bullshit. This is just a complete fake, disregard. The Denver Airport's Asmodee talking gargoyle is to announce that this is a completed work. That as it originally was, it was a statement, and that the people going through the airport to and fro were undergoing a ritual transformation, equivalent but not the same as a baptism. It's like Islamic blessing of food. Everybody who eats food that is blessed in the Islamic tradition is another click closer to becoming Islamic, even against their will.
Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this video I got up?
Yeah, I've seen all the murals.
Okay, no. Do you see the gargoyle I got on the screen here?
Oh, you've got a picture of the Asmodee. Right? Lovely.
No. Look, it's the actual gargoyle.
Yeah, that's the gargoyle, the Asmodee. That's right. He talks.
Yeah, look at that thing. That moves really weird.
And that's absolutely clean cut and normal, like every other airport has.
Hold on, I gotta play some of the audio for this. Hang on, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second, Zombie. Sorry.
No. Interrupt away.
All right, so this is the gargoyle you were talking about. Let's hear some of what it has to say. And to me, the way this thing moves kind of looks like claymation for some reason.
It's disturbing as fuck.
That's a little too close for comfort, lady.
Oh, damn.
What, you never seen a talking gargoyle before? Welcome to Illuminati headquarters. I mean, Denver International Airport.
What the hell?
This is awesome.
Hello? Do I know you?
Are you hungry?
Oh, I'm starving. You got anything for me? Those flowers look delicious.
Oh, it's because of the conspiracy.
Oh, it's because of the conspiracy. Look at me. I'm a little know-it-all. Will you get back over here? I got a question about this conspiracy. Did you have to buy an extra seat for your hat, sir? Sir, are you stealing a deck? There you have resting, confused face. Do you have a favorite animal or pet?
A caterpillar.
A caterpillar? Wouldn't you rather have a gargoyle?
No.
Yes. You know, you can actually put the phone down and have a conversation with me. But no, I'm a millennial. I've got to post it. I've got to snap face it and Twitter book it. Excuse me, miss, I've got a stain that needs some polishing. Can I borrow your cleaning cart?
Oh, no.
I need...
Okay, that is absolutely terrifying.
Bright, normal, healthy, like every other airport, completely normal.
And it was just so cavalier with how it addressed the conspiracy. And it's
Well,
really
you see,
funny.
Masonic jesting requires the victim to be told what's going to happen, because once the victim is told, if they can't prevent it, they've consented to it. That's why researchers go crazy looking at, coronavirus references in the media or 911 towers in the media before these events happen. That's the jest, J-E-S-T. You put it out there and announce what you're going to do. You can use green language. You don't have to be completely open about it, because it's not for the profane or the uneducated. It's only for the eyes that see. But they put it out there in such a way that they can say to the one above all that, well, we played fair as we're required to. We told the victim what was going to happen. And then the victim must come willingly to be sacrificed. So, yeah.
Good God.
Could you see if like the Denver airport conspiracy is like a hiding in plain sight kind of situation?
A jest, yeah. A jest. Because it's not hiding. See, the Masonic thing is not that things hide, but that they are not understood or noticed. That's why Freemasonry is described not as a secret society, but as a society that keeps secrets. Death to the unwary, life to the eye that sees.
Well, okay. How about this penguin stuck in a fucking cube? What's that all about?
Yes.
What? The Denver airport is absolutely nuts, and I'm not surprised I met my ex-wife there thinking about all this stuff. It's absolutely insane. No wonder my life's been so crazy since then.
And the Queen of England owns most of the land around it.
It says the caption on it is Great Auk, and then something in Latin I can't read. Alca.
Belcalis Alamanzar?
Yeah, 1844 is the date.
What are they doing to do? They got a penguin there in a glass cage. They got some kind of like dead leopard on the ground, turtle, and a whale. It's
It's some strange stuff. I find this one creepy, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one people were saying was the 2012 mural.
The dead little girl.
Yeah.
And the boy hugging his squirrel and crying.
The change of the race. The change of the race. The coming race.
Jeez. What kind of flowers are those?
Calla lily. And then a tiger lily.
And what looks just like a peony. Or peony.
And they got a bird in another glass cage.
The red one is ginger.
And that's not actually a penguin.
Well, this one's a passenger pigeon. Then what's the one that's not a penguin?
They're extinct.
Penguin.
They're extinct birds.
Stupid penguin.
Yeah, it's not a penguin. It's got some sort of strange, like...
It looks like a symbiote.
Serrated beak. See?
Yeah, it looks like it got venomized or something.
This comes back to 322, which is one of the Masonic secrets that nobody seems to have ever really solved.
322?
Genesis 3:22.
Go on.
Well, I just worshipfully observe that other people have explained this before, so although not meant for the profane, it's not any longer a secret. Genesis 3:22 is the passage that says, if you do as God does, you become as God is, and that the fruit of the tree of life sets you free, it doesn't curse you. If you do as God does, you become as God is. So Genesis 3:22 is the origin of the use of the number people mistakenly think of as 322 by secret societies such as Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones has a crossbones and a skull, and under it the number 322. Genesis 3:22.
Here's the Young's literal translation, which is my favorite translation. And Jehovah God saith, Lo, the man was one of us, as to the knowledge of good and evil. And now, lest he send forth his hand, and have taken also of the tree of life, and eaten, and lived to the age.
So from the worshipful brethren point of view at the Royal Arch, when you stand at the Royal Arch and look through it to see the final secret and the ultimate treasure, the final secret is that this is their belief. This is like the South Park episode where they say this is what Scientologists actually believe.
Yeah.
This is a belief system I am describing. I am not trying to convert people to it, nor do I accept its truth personally. However, God of this world is actually a jailkeeper who denies humans their immortality. And Genesis 3:22, understood by that belief system, takes a very different message from it. That the knowledge of good and evil and the immortality that the gods enjoy, the knowledge of good and evil is a trap, because there is no such thing as good and evil. And when you free yourself from that, you can live forever the way God does, because you become as God is. This is where the serial killers and the ritual killings and all of that stuff, that's what proceeds from that upside down mirror universe view of Genesis 3:22. And you can't really understand the Denver airport strangeness until you understand that this is a real live religion to this very day.
Phobic Zeno says he met his ex-wife there too, actually. That's interesting.
There's a lot of bad luck stories at Denver airport.
Jeez.
There's not a lot of good luck stories, but there are a lot of stories where, like, the day that I was at Denver airport began the worst chapter of my life type stories. So,
what? Okay, I've seen this one in person, and let me tell you, it's a little more what the fuck when you see it right before you get on an airplane.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, why?
That's my favorite out of them, to be honest.
Do you not find it beautiful though?
yeah, I do. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I see some obvious scaling issues.
There's even a pride flag on there, you know.
Is there? I think he's stabbing that bird in the butt.
The bird enjoys it.
Well, he has definitely impaled the dove of peace on his scimitar.
Yeah.
But it's not the dove of peace. It's the dove of grace, symbolizing the Holy Spirit.
Jeez.
The denial of the Holy Spirit is the only fundamental blasphemy, because to deny God's ability to transform through grace is to deny God's power, or to set oneself up in opposition to it, or to be superior to it by judging that you don't need it, when in fact all mortal creation does.
Jim Turner says this one is the Children of the World Dream of Peace.
Yeah, that's the Gentile title. That's the any title given to any of these things is a cover. So there's a green language meaning, and there's an outer meaning to these things.
It's kind of creepy.
Just a little bit.
And what do you think about the rainbow?
Pride flag?
Long before the pride flag. But...
It is a rainbow. Look at that.
It's a spectrum, a Newtonian spectrum, and could be considered to be a rainbow. And it arches, but it goes into darkness. It curves.
But it curves like the sword. Like it's like the swoosh of the sword.
Like light bending.
If you follow it, it may actually be the path that curls around below the figure and the dove.
So it's a gay op.
It kind of looks like it ends at this infant right here.
I mean, It does. It does. It is totally a pride flag, though, because that bird is taking up the butt. So.
And you have a procession of souls in darkness. So you have the rainbow bridge, a rainbow that is a bridge.
Ah.
You have the sweep of time.
I mean, this also describes like my marriage too, actually.
Is that another dead child?
But yeah, we had a
few of them.
miscarriage actually.
Yeah, there's quite a few in those murals.
Yeah, never thought about that actually.
That other mural had a dead child in it too.
The rainbow is part of the swoosh from the sword killing the people. Yeah. Bunderdome asked if my ex was a plant and she was a conduit between me and aliens. I've talked about it on the show before, but my experiences with what I think are aliens happened while I was in bed with my ex-wife.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that.
No, it's fine. I shouldn't talk about her so much. But it is the Denver airport in my own
This mural shows the creative power of destruction. This is a key concept about understanding the nature of good and evil from Genesis 3:22. What the profane, what the unknowing people believe to be good is evil, and what the profane people believe to be evil is good, because it's more of a Shiva kind of concept. The destroyer god is a creator, because the fire that destroys the forest allows the forest to regrow, blah, 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 blah. And it also shows that the gulf, the well of souls, which is filling with the dead, the spirits of the dead, is also unnecessary, because being doomed to mortality is all just part of the con job of the trickster god of this world and so on.
When were these murals done?
I don't know, but the airport itself is 25 years old.
Oh.
Or older at this point, but at least 25.
We do have a question, Mecha.
Yes.
Someone asked you if your ex-wife put a finger up your bum.
No, not that, Rebecca.
It could be a probe, you know.
Could have been.
You did meet her at Denver Airport.
That's right. We need to hear more about the alien menage a trois with my ex-wife. Eric Hawkins, no, we don't. But thank you for your interest.
I'll pop up a link to the new damage control review of the murals, which is not in any way, shape or form the same way they were originally defiantly described, because the one with the explosion and the fire and the dead birds and all of that stuff is called In Peace and Harmony with Nature.
Let's see.
They've all got these euphemistic titles.
The AI known as Jim Tuner says they were painting in 1995. The painting has a sequel, and Pickles is Oz art. I agree with that.
Who's that?
He's Liam's co-host.
Australians.
And Pink Floyd album that you're supposed to sync to the stream. All of them at the same time. With as many tabs as Chrome can handle for you. Can we pull up this Fly Denver thing that Zombies got?
Is that in the chat?
Yeah.
I just put it in the link.
Okay.
In the chat.
Leo Tenguma painted them in 1995.
Yeah.
It's
Leo
in the
Tenguma, if you make that an anagram, is Amugante, which is Spanish for whale's vagina. San Diego. There are 7 letters in Tenguma, and there are also 7 numbers in Denver A.
It's not happy. Hold on just a second.
Oh, this is the CIA. They're attacking your router. Anonymous
I
has got your
know.
router. Pride is a sin, says Blacklist Universe. Well, thanks for that non sequitur, Mike, or possible imposter of Mike.
Do we have
the controlled ops out of control?
I mean,
It happened to Pickles earlier too. So
If we don't sin, then Jesus died for nothing.
Oh, goodness. Okay, Hate Watch Radio did the homework for us. He says, begin track 1 of Metal once Zombie begins to talk for the first time. Okay. Blacklist says, I was reading older chat. All right. Blame Hikaru.
But what if I use my Mr. Ron voice?
What?
This is the voice of the Mr. Rons.
Mike Oxmall, are you on the stream? How did you get here?
We are the survivors of the ancient Martian civilization.
Oh, okay. Is that the Pink Floyd thing?
No, it's Captain Scarlet, the indestructible man.
What a horrible take on why Jesus died. Yeah, thank you, Pickles, you crazy guy.
What was so special about that guy anyway?
Oh my goodness. Put your sandals on, Pickles. It's always the green guys are on our show that come up with the craziest things. All right. Yeah, Vicky, we're going to see you walk around the mall looking for a new router after the show, right?
Probably not. Probably not. I'm not worried.
BW.
Go to your ball and walk around frankly. Asuka, you're the best. Oh, look at that penguin again.
The penguin again. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I usually don't like cussing on this show, but fuck that penguin. I'm so tired of seeing its smug little ass. You got caught for a reason, dude.
We have child crying over the dead cat.
Oh,
Just
boy.
the sort of stuff you want to see before you jump on a plane.
Yeah.
I want to throw, 20 tons of metal into the sky, fly it around, and worry about some kid crying over a dead leopard.
From a distance, though, it looks like the kid is stopping that woman from finishing off the leopard.
You think they had a good recipe for it?
Just like it just seems like it was like it's already dead. Stop it.
It'll rot him as flash. Zombie is so cryptic and vague with his Masonic knowledge. We had some people asking why you were so kind to them, Zombie.
Kind to who?
The Masons. And Asuka points out that those kids in the mural,
They use silent.
Sorry. Yeah, the kids in the mural are actually Mike Miller's kids when they fulfill Lone Star for him.
Living in harmony.
I'm kidding, Mike. We're having some fun at Mike's expense. Insert armless drummer joke here. Badoom. No, psh, because he's got one arm.
Did you have anything on the lost station or the hidden station at Denver Airport as well?
I did not catch that in my research, which was extensive in more than 20 minutes this afternoon.
So are the paintings set up like the Stations of the Cross kind of? You walk down like some sort of hallway or?
They're unavoidable. They're unavoidable. They're part of a concourse and, Mecha, walk us through it, pun intended.
Because I've only been to the Denver airport the one time, and I don't remember being in that part of it.
Were you there the same time I met my wife?
Quite possibly.
Okay, good.
I was just there for a... I had a stopover there once.
Vicky's actually Mecha's ex-wife.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
She's just doing an ops.
Yep. The CIA gave her to me. I had to rewind. I heard my name. It wasn't worth it. Blacklist. It's Friday night. Where's Friday night auctions, Mike?
It might be over. It's already almost midnight over here.
Ooh.
Is Vicky?
These are not Comicsgate murals that we know of. It's possible that Andrew Huerta drew one.
Too well painted for starters.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, you're in fulfillment, Mike? Yeah, we know. We got this mural of your kids packing up all those Lone Stars. Mike's house during fulfillment could have been another title for this. Just kidding. Plot thickens. Where were we? I'm completely lost.
The Lost Station on the railway in Colorado.
Yeah. Funny that we got lost trying to get to that story.
Disappointing more than funny, but anyway.
Yeah. I am disappointing. It's something my ex-wife used to tell me.
So you didn't find anything on it, though, the secret station?
I wasn't even aware of it.
Because that started in the 90s when people started going there to research the sheer, creepy, absolutely out there nature of this airport. A guy got on a train, and now it would be unsurprising because you just use your camera phone, but back then it was more of a big deal. He actually videoed the trip, and he was sharing it on BBS's, like the prior version of the internet and so on, and it was going around in researcher circles, and he was just sharing it as like, this is the actual trip, and here are some loading docks on the line, on the railway line, and so on. It was actually someone looking at it going, wait, what's that? And then it went back and forth on the chat, and people were saying, hang on, that's a station, but it's not on the map. And so it all just went from there. And then it went into the usual, there are 50 hidden underground levels and, da-da-da-da-da. Because the few available pictures of the construction that would show it do show underground levels. And it's confirmed that there is an extra station on the railway line, at least one, and possibly two.
Jeez.
And it was the largest Freemasonic commencement since the construction at the end of the Revolutionary War in Washington, which is a reasonably famous oil painting of with the founding fathers in their aprons. But this one beat that for the number of highest level Masons attending to observe the great work.
It's the Denver airport is completely out of its damn mind.
But also intentional. It's not like a chaos. It's not like it just happened accidentally. It was all planned. That's what's the intriguing thing about it for so many people, I think.
It's very confrontational.
And quite deliberately so, because that's how they built it. You know what I mean? And if it was confrontational, they've changed it slightly, and they've changed murals slightly, but it's so quite obviously deliberately confrontational that they're obviously trying to convey something, aren't they? Like the Georgia Guidestones.
EVS is still working on his mural, has not completed it yet. That's a good one. Somebody said that, yeah, this is an interesting comment by Phobic Xeno. It's a bad location for an airport with this terrible crosswind problem. Airports just cover what's really going on underground.
Yeah, didn't that airport cost like billions of dollars to build as well?
It did.
It wasn't cheap.
And it was overcapitalized based on what the airport apparently offers.
Well, that's not unusual with municipal
yeah, well, that's right.
construction.
You could just say, "Oh, big deal," So really, that just means it's a fraud rather than a conspiracy.
It could be both.
But that's the point. It could be both. That's the thing. Yeah.
That's something, man. I kind of believe there's something going on there.
Well, you found something which has got so many creative, strange things in one place.
Just like Comicscape.
Just like Comicscape, yes.
That's more like strange people.
You seem to have Comicsgate on the brain a little bit again tonight, Mecha. I don't. What's set you off?
Just any opportunity for a cheap joke, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to have fun. I'm going to get the poll ready for next week, and actually, I had one more thing to talk about tonight. You may have seen me. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's a bad location for an airport with this terrible crosswind problem. Airports just cover what's really going on underground.
Mm-hmm.
It's you may have seen me mention this previously, but Eric Scott Hunkus said sent me this. Thank you, Eric.
I like it.
Yeah, he's been giving us.
Oh yeah, he's got the picture of the two Pauls there.
Yeah, Eric, thank you so much for all that you do.
Engage. You're the victim.
Yeah. Let me see where it is. Profile. So this week, I talked to a friend of mine. He's going by Vagrant Jack, and basically, this is a lifelong friend of mine, and he just needed something to do. So I said, let me send you out and do some urban exploration. He's taken some exploratory photos, but he lives in New Mexico, Taos, New Mexico, and he's going to investigate some of the stuff he knows of around there. Apparently, it's a hotbed of activity and interesting things to check out. So he's going to take some videos, take some pictures, and he's going to dead drop this stuff to us.
Isn't Taos located on an intersection of ley lines?
I think it is, yeah. There's something called the Taos Hum. So
Yes.
I'm sending this guy to actually go photograph it head on, or it's going to be our first piece of truly original content on the show.
That's great.
So, yeah, he's actually going to go do the investigating. He's always been the fearless type, and he really loves this stuff too. So, and he's a bit of an artist, so he takes these goofy photos and stuff. But
if he's a bit of an artist, get him to have a look around Taos for the modern art museum or gallery that it undoubtedly has.
Yeah.
Because they're now being used as headquarters and clearinghouses for at least one agency. Same with the Bureau of Land Management. Bureau of Land Management supplies all of the off-register number plate cars for Men in Black and other agencies.
Wow, okay.
The other BLM. And the modern art galleries in Taos, Phoenix, what's the other one? God bless it. Place in Texas, it's got lights. Marfa,
yeah.
There are modern art galleries.
How do you know that name?
Was that
being established?
Did you say Martha?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just said, how do you know that name?
Oh, you're making a joke. We're being goofy tonight.
Right.
Yeah, he's Vagrant Jack, and I'm going to send him all over the place because he came to me. He's like, I have nothing going on in my life, and I'm bored. I don't know what to do. So I'm like, all right, well, guess what? You're our first on the field correspondent, and you're going to
commit suicide by attacking reptilians in their tunnels. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah, he's ready and willing to go underground. So if you have any ideas, guys, we're going to get some really interesting reporting going on from him. And if you got any suggestions or leads, I'm going to pay his bus fare to get wherever he needs to in the Midwest.
Cool.
That's Vagrant Jack. Check him out. We're going to have some cool stuff by next week, hopefully. And I think he's running late on this story. He originally wanted to get this for us today, but he's looking at entering the different possible entrances to the underground tunnels in the Taos Plaza area.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got to check on him tonight before I go to bed because I don't know if he went in there and got lost or whatever. He went radio silent on me earlier.
I hope he stays safe.
Yeah, I'm definitely have an agreement with him that if he dies, it's his fault. So,
has he got a drone to use?
That's all coming. I'm financing his whole operation.
Oh, okay.
But he if we need to get him something like that, I'll send it to him. Yeah, we're going to send him to Denver to meet my ex-wife, apparently.
And the reptilians. And the
reptilians underground. And the Hum is actually a fat guy drawing comicscape books.
Did you say he actually lives in Taos?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, because there's all sorts of great stuff in Taos. Ghosts for Tim.
We got ghosts for Tim. Yeah, I think it's about time we have some ghost stuff and maybe some EMP videos, or what do they call them?
If I'm here next week, I can talk to Tim about my experiences with ghosts. Oh,
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me get the poll ready. so we can remember this for next week. So we're going to do Ghosts and Pickle Story.
Because there's the Cocoa Man in New Mexico. Up in
Cocoa
Taos.
Man?
The Cocoa Man.
Okay, we'll cover that story. Hopefully we can get Vagrant Jack to give us some pictures of the area, maybe.
That would be
or maybe
awesome.
some video of going around there and stuff. And that's the Cocoa Man?
Yep.
All right. And what else should we cover? What else came up during the show that we could do?
2 John Lennons. Paul is dead.
Yeah.
Beatles conspiracy.
I ran across that last week. I could do that.
Well, I've got like 4,000 pages on it if you want it.
I'll read on it.
And did you name this?
I read quick.
Did you name this episode, Vicky?
I didn't name it anything.
Oh, okay. We usually like to come up with goofy names for these things. So we'll call this one. I usually like to name it after like movie titles that got changed. Just for fun. Dang, I'm having too much fun tonight. So I kind of believe 612 was our episode today. I kind of believe. And this is the official I Kind of Believe account. It's at Believe Kind of. And so we got next week, we're going to hear a ghost story from Pickles. And we'll cover other ghost stuff that we come up with. Cocoa Man from Taos.
Yeah, 'cause there's the vortex under the Pueblo there. That's where the ley lines cross, is under the Pueblo. So the Catholics smack themselves down on top of them. On top of it.
The dragon lines, the saints slaying dragons, holding them down.
Yep.
I think Cherry really wants you to talk about Zermatism.
Zermatism? What's that?
Root language and root races.
Is that something you could cover in a story, Zombie?
Yeah.
Okay. And we always come up with stuff during the week, too, that catches our interest. And I'll have a couple more UFO videos, but we'll spend considerably less time on it next time. So if you want to vote for this stuff, go ahead. Otherwise, we're just using this as a written record of things. See what catches our interest. And we're going to do another poll here where we put Eric Scott Hawkins on it. He's a known antagonist of the show. Skinwalker Ranch.
What's saying? What is the real question posed by Zermatism? I'm not afraid of any question. I'll cover it. I don't mind.
Skinwalker Ranch. I might do that.
Eliza.
It's a fake. It's a fake, man. It's a fake. Honestly.
What, Skinwalker?
Truly. Yeah, it's a fake. There was some real stuff there, and then Bigelow comes in, and you've got the whole donkey show cover up. The real stuff is fantastic, very fascinating, and consistent with other things elsewhere. The rest of it's, the same old nonsense that they always do. It's so irritating.
Someone mentioned the Eliza Lamb video, but I think everyone knows about that.
Eliza Lamb?
Yeah, you know the girl in the elevator?
Oh, yeah, that inspired the Jennifer Connelly movie. Dark Water or something.
She liquefied in a water tower, and then the goo came out in the taps, and they realized that's where she was.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
New York, right?
It takes like 2 people, and the water turned a different color because she was decomposing in it.
That was in New York City, wasn't it? Am I thinking of something else?
I don't think it was New York.
I don't understand what the real questions posed by Zermatism are that I'm allegedly afraid to cover, because I'm not afraid to cover them, but it would be helpful if Hate Watch Radio could tell me what the questions were, and I'll directly address them.
Ooh, Zombie threw down the gauntlet.
Well, Zermatism's got 2 main branches in terms of what people now write about it, so it would be helpful if we knew which one he's talking about, if indeed it's not just sort of innuendo and drift. Because if it's innuendo and drift, what's the point of engaging, really? Just set out the research and people can come to their own conclusions as intended. But if there's some particular thrust to the question about Zermatism, then why not address it?
Yeah. Well, we got that for next week. Vote on it if you wish. If not, we got something to refer to during the week. Vikki, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
Thank all of you for coming. So everybody follow Pickles over on Twitter. I am copying his Twitter handle into the chat. His and Shabby's book, Vestry, should be coming out, what did you say, within a month or a little over a month or so?
2-3 weeks, probably, yeah.
Yeah. So you can find out more about it and find out when it's going to be here by following Mr. Pickles on Twitter.
I will say, Dr. Cherry, Slender Man's a bullshit story.
Yeah.
And it was an awful, awful movie.
Very awful movie. But thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you, chat.
Thank you, Green Guy, who showed up to replace Lorenzo.
Yeah, thank you very much, my favorite gherkin.
Yeah, and thanks to the tinfoil known as Zombie Namicon.
Keep watching the skis.
Oh, and real quick, I found out about this show on Amazon. Just came out. It's a fictional show, and it's called The Vast of Night. It looks like it's a Roswell dramatization, so I'm going to check that out. And it looked really interesting. So, we already got some votes. It looks like Eric Scott Hawkins is pulling away with the win.
He always pulls away with the win early.
Yeah. What a guy!
Always. So, good night, everybody.
Everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Toodle pip.
Good night,
Lorenzo Slenderman.